Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the live composing show here on Become a Game Composer. So excited that you're here with us today. I'm your host, Stephen Melin, and I'm here to help you support your family composing game music online. I feel a little awkward here on camera today because I feel like I haven't done one of these in forever. I don't know what it is. It's only been a week or a week and a half. That's probably why it feels so weird. And to kind of tip it off, today's a Tuesday. I'm used to doing these on Thursdays. And we will be back to the normal schedule next Thursday. So set your calendars, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm actually taking my kids to the dentist this Thursday. So that's just kind of how that worked out. So yay, COVID. This season has been something very special, as many of you know, just learning to deal with flexibility. But I am excited that I believe, at least for the next 6 months or so, that things are going to be very consistent moving forward now that we kind of know the status quo of how to operate in this crazy season. So you might actually see right now, this is just my crazy life right now with limited time. I'm literally just finished uploading some new course videos. That's why that page is up. I'm trying to use every second I got here. But let me pull up my DAW session here so we can get this show on the road. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're just doing fabulous. What's up, Michael, Captain Dark? There's a bunch more of you watching, so come say hey. So here we are. Today, we are talking about a brand new plugin from Impact Soundworks. They've been friends of the show for a while. You may know them most from Super Audio Cart, which is a plugin I've talked about quite a bit. I write a lot of chiptune music. Since my specialty is in 2D adventure games, a lot of times people want 8-bit and 16-bit music, and so Super Audio Cart has always been a fabulous plugin for that. So you might also know that with Super Audio Cart, it has a bunch of different consoles built in. One of those is the C64, the Commodore 64. Now, I don't know about you. I was not born in the 80s. I'm actually born in 1990, 30 years old. So the C64 predated me just a little bit. Like, my childhood was all about really the Super Nintendo. I mean, the NES kind of had its heyday in the 80s as well. So that's really where I started off with Super Nintendo. But there's something very nostalgic and very interesting about the SID chip, the SID chip. So I've had to do some research on this over the last few years, and something about if you want to write authentic chiptune music, then you have got to start writing for the C64 using the SID chip. For anyone from the 80s, the Commodore 64 was actually the most popular computer, period. Universally, it made up about half of the shares of all computer sales. So it was more popular than the Apple. I think the Apple II was out at that time. It was more popular than the IBM PC at that time. So like, this was the household computer that everyone had across America and some other regions. I think it was the number 2 computer in the UK. But it was just interesting how the Commodore 64 was like this new powerful machine. It had 64 kilobytes of RAM, which is hilarious when you think about it now. That's not even a floppy disk. Maybe it's a floppy disk, whatever. That's like a MIDI file size at the whole computer. But what's so special about that day and age is, for the first time, the Commodore 64 could play video games. It was one of the first computers to ever play video games. And so that just really took off and had its own cultic following. And here we are 40 years removed, and it still holds up as one of the most nostalgic sounds ever in music, especially video game music. I don't know if it's quite up there with NES, but it's, right behind it in the 8-bit era. There's something very specific about the C64 sound that is very raunchy. It's very biting and punchy. So if you write anything in the style of, electronic music that's like really energetic, this is going to be an amazing sound source for you to look into. So just to paint a quick picture here before we jump into inSIDious, which is the brand new plugin from Impact Soundworks. The SID chip it has its own unique limitations. I won't necessarily go into the background of that, but historically, this chip comes in two different versions. The first one, I might as well show you here while we're talking about it. The first one here, I won't bore you to death with all the history, but I mean, you can just do a quick little Wikipedia search on the SID chip, and you'll learn that there's two different types. There's the 6581 chip, which came in the original hardware, and then when if you upgraded to the Commodore 64-2 or the Commodore 128 series, then you got the newer 8580 chip. So today we're talking about inSIDious, and I want to pull up the actual interface here, which is a reactor interface. So if any of you familiar with native instruments, they have Contact, which most instruments, most VSTs, you can load through Contact. But this is the first time I've ever seen a big company like Impact Soundworks code something within Reactor. So thankfully, if you don't own Reactor 6, if you already have Complete, then you'll probably already have that. But the Reactor player can also host this plugin, inSIDious. But you kind of open this up and it looks like a spaceship, but it's really easy to use. We're going to have a lot of fun writing some music with it here today. I feel like the SID chip with the two different versions, right? We said the 6581 and then the 8580. It's really neat that you can just load this plugin, start playing, and at any point, any of the oscillators, any of the different patches, so to speak, you can shift to the 8580. And it's a very subtle difference, but from what I could kind of dig up online, the biggest difference between the two chips is that the 8580, which is the newer chip, is a little bit more tamed down. It's a little bit more filtered. And so if you want a punchier sound, if you want something that's a little bit more in your face and kind of grindy, then go with the original, the 6581. And I think if you ever look up C64 music, some of the famous legends out there for some of the big games, I think you'll find that most of them are the 6581 chip because that's the one that just became so popular. So if you're really going for that authentic sound, probably stick with that. But if you're trying to really dive deeper into, a different filter, then try that out. But I'm so excited to talk about this because this is just kind of out of left field. And it makes sense for Impact Soundworks because they already have the success of Super Audio Cart. But this plugin is just really interesting. And I think we're going to make some really cool music today as we do live composing, a bit of a first look. Thankfully, there's not a lot to talk about because what you see is what you get. And thankfully, I think the price reflects that. I don't think you always need to go spend hundreds of dollars on plugins to get all the features. For example, maybe you're someone who already has Super Audio Cart. Let me just pull that up as a reference here. If I just open up a Contact instance here, just for anyone that doesn't have Super Audio Cart. Super Audio Cart is, I believe it's about $150, $200, something like that. And rightfully so, because it has a bunch of things inside of it. So even if I were to just open up one of those patches, you'll notice here in a sec that it has a bunch of different consoles you can choose from. So over here, they have the NES, the Atari 2600, the Super Nintendo, Game Boy, C64, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, and PC. So this is great to kind of get a small dose of each of those consoles, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really go deep into any one of them. So you'll see even here with the C64, if you want the kind of the basics of the pulse waves, the PMW waves, triangle and saw, then you're fine. And a little bit of percussion. Like this is a pretty good sampling that's going to get you pretty far. But if that's not enough for you and you really want to go deeper into this style and have a lot more control, a lot more inspiration, then that's where you might hit up inSIDious. Because you'll notice here in the presets, you can always just open up one of these and go to town and start experimenting, as we'll do. But you can always go to the embedded, and they already have all these preset leads, basses, drones, percussion, loops, effects. And then really probably the main event here is they've taken, how many people is this? 2, 4, 6, 8. They've taken allegedly the 8 biggest Commodore 64 composers of all time, and they actually reached out to them and had each of them create their own presets which I think is so cool. So if you want to sound like Jason Page or Chris Holzbeck or Rob Hubbard or the TDK Knight, I'm not sure how many of these you guys are familiar with. I'm not super familiar with all of them, but these are kind of the legends of C64 in the 80s. But what they've done is they've actually created their own packs. I'm actually kind of shocked that they didn't just, Impact Soundworks didn't sell each of these for like $5 or $10 extra as like DLC. I just think it's so cool that they included them. So for example, you want to sound like Rob Hubbard, then you can go in here and you can check out his Dragon's Lair or his Ace 2, his Master of Magic. So if you're familiar with any of those games, you can actually have the patches from those games, which is so cool. Or at least, the modern equivalent. We're not actually writing music for C64, but we're using kind of the MIDI sampled VST equivalent. So a quick note that on that note, I think a disclaimer that must be said before we even start. First of all, if you want to actually compose for a C64, like if you actually have one or you know someone that does and you want to code for it, there has, for 40 years, there's been free software. You can just look it up on Google and you can find something like Melin. You can find these pieces of software where you can literally type in the codes, or you can use something like Deflamask, which is another really cool free software that you can create Sega Master System or Sega Genesis or Commodore 64. That's what I've used and I've really liked it. But the only challenge is it's not MIDI. Like it's literally code. You have to type in all the code. And to change one thing or to like insert one thing, it's a tracker essentially. That kind of writing is just really cumbersome. It takes a very specialized skill set to do that, and it just takes forever and a day to write music. And that's just not my favorite way to write music. I'm in a world where I want access to the SID chip without having to, use a different piece of software. Like I want to use Cubase, which is my DAW of choice, or Pro Tools or whatever, Logic. I want to use what I like to use, and I want to just throw in a Reactor plugin, write my music, and then maybe the SID chip is not the right thing for me and I want to use a different plugin, right? I want the power to be able to, switch in and out. And then another thing I wanted to shout out here is many of you may also be familiar with chip sounds. That's something I've been using for years. It's probably the most well-known chiptune interface. It's another VST. I just wanted to show you that if you already have chip sounds, if you go into the pure chip, you can find the SID chip. It's right there. And look, they have the 6581 and the 8580. However, it's literally just one keyboard. And it sounds fine. It sounds great. But you notice how it's not a synthesizer. It's just one sound. Right, so we can play with that and it's fine. And I've used that as well. And to be honest, chip sounds has always been my go-to for the SID chip to write C64 music. But now I got something better. So I'm really pumped. I've only spent a little bit of time experimenting with inSIDious so far. But I can already tell that it just has inspiration baked in. And it's going to be tremendously fun to jump into this. And disclaimer number 2, just because I believe in being upfront and honest about everything. So this inSIDious is a plugin that was gifted to me by Impact Soundworks. I've had previous affiliate relationship with them before with Super Audio Cart. Really awesome people. And so they reached out to see if I wanted to share this. And so my opinions here today are not from Impact Soundworks. They're just my opinions as a composer who writes chiptune music. And so I hope that this is valuable for you to get kind of an honest, unbiased review. And the part 2 to that is if you are interested in picking up inSIDious today, it is 25% off right now. There's a link in the description below. That's an affiliate link that does support my channel at no additional cost to you. If that's something that you want to pick up, I'd appreciate that. And I think you're going to really enjoy this. And I think right now it is $49, which is ridiculous. I think if I were to price this right now, I'd probably price it for $149 or $199, just based on my experience of reviewing, 50, 60 plugins from different companies. I think this is horribly underpriced, but don't tell the guys I said that. I just think it's really cool and it's simple. I think anything that solves a problem really fast deserves a higher price point. But that's just me. So take advantage of that. I think you'll enjoy that. Let's dive into it. So let's explore the interface, and then let's write an actual piece of music and have some fun with it. But I would be completely remiss if I didn't acknowledge that like a million of you just came into the chat, and I appreciate that. So what's up, Devin and George? Love audio production, road composing. I can't read all of these comments. There's too many, but I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, road composing says, I think inSIDious is an emulation since it uses reactor and not contact. I'm not sure what the difference is. All I know is from the limited amount of time I've spent with reactor is a synthesis engine versus contact, which is a sampling engine. So if you want to build your own samples, you use contact because you just throw WAV files in and you map it to a keyboard and you add effects. But reactor is an actual synthesis engine. And I think in order to have these really neat parameters on screen, as we're about to see, such as the ADSR for each of them, an LFO for each of them, the actual sample wave itself, the waveform, like there's some really cool stuff right on the interface that's you can just click and move it that you can't do in contact. So that's my best guess as to why they chose this. You'll notice it's not like I could write an entire piece of music with this one plugin. That's not my way of writing music. I'd rather, duplicate 10 tracks and then do that, as you're about to see. But that's my best guess as to why they've done that. But yeah, you're right. There is emulation for C64 as well, but I just think that they've packaged this in a way that it's unique, it's interesting, and inspiring. So hey, what's up, both Daniels? We got two Daniels that just walked in. I appreciate you guys being here. So let's have some fun. And as always, if you have questions about it, if you want me to explore something you see on screen, that way you can kind of have your own virtual demo with me, let me know. I always want this to be a fun, relaxed time. So we're going to write for the next hour and a half or so until it's done. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So here we go. Here is the inSIDious interface. When you open it up, there are 3 oscillators that you can have. So if you've ever used Massive by Native Instruments or any synth engine for that matter, you always have multiple oscillators. So it's just a sound, right? Most synth engines, you can mix 3 or 4 sounds all at the same time. So it allows you to create a unique sound because you're mixing your own sounds. So right now you can notice, if I just take my face off the screen, you'll notice that down here, channel 2 and channel 3 are turned off. So right now we're just dealing with this one vertical layer here and a few key items here. The first, if you want to actually start tweaking the sound, you'll have these 3 buttons: solo, legato, and live arpeggiation. So if I just start playing, I'll make sure you can see, whoopsies, I'll make sure you can see my hands here, and I'll pull it up. So if I start playing, let me just hold one note, like C. You'll notice how the little waveform here is dancing, and I like that you can actually visually see it. So you can see how it's the same shape as this button. So it's a square wave, because each of the little things is a square. What are those called? The parabolas? If I change it to a sine wave, maybe that's called a triangle. No, that's a sine wave. This one's a triangle because it's a complete triangle. And the triangle is very, very filtered. So with any synthesis, with any waveforms, you want to make sure that you're dealing with the right amount of volume. So triangle waves are just historically very quiet because all the top end is taken off. And then we also have noise, which is very important to have. So already, I don't know about you guys, if you do any sound design, if you make any sound effects as game composers, sometimes we're asked to do that, and sometimes we're asked to just make ambience, right? If those of you familiar with like Donkey Kong Country 2, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time by David Wise, his soundtrack, yes, it's all music, but every single level of that soundtrack, he also creates background ambiences like birds and waves and wind, right? I get asked all the time, hey, I know you're not a sound designer, because I'm not. I'll be the first to admit. But so often, if you want to create something really immersive and ambient, the game developer might ask you to create sound effects as part of the embedded track. So for example, if you want to create waves, ocean waves, I just did it in one click. I hit the noise button. That sounds like a Game Boy, right? Just pick your pitch. And if you really want to get fancy, you can use the ADSR down here. This is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. It's so simple, but most plugins don't have the ADSR on it. So that just stands for attack, decay, sustain, release. So if you ever want to make a pad, something that kind of comes in, you can drag the attack up. So if I were to take this, I can make an ocean wave. So there we go. Like in 5 seconds, I've already created a sound effect. So this is not just a composition tool. This will also be very useful for anyone who wants to make sound design and sound effects. And they've also gone the extra mile and they've created a sound effects button. I think a lot of people are going to overlook this because it doesn't seem very obvious, but this little sound effects button, if you click it, what it does is it transforms the wave you've already created and it gives you an additional menu up here for ADSR to play around with the pitch. And so what it's doing is it's trying to convert the musical note that you had into more of a sound effect. So like this, exact same thing we just did. Look, now it's like a pickup item in a game. And you could do this all day long by just randomly moving stuff. So let's just, I don't know, let's have some fun real quick. Let's play around with, let's make it like a triangle wave. Let's mess around with the frequency and the depth. And then let's turn the attack back down. I'm just kind of goofing around here. And then let's hit the sound effects button and see what it makes. So I just made like a laser gun, like a shotgun, right? And then at any point you can play around with the mod wheel to change the pitch around. And you can actually assign what the wheel does. That's another cool parameter up here. So if you go to the wheel, it's currently off, but I can change to the panning right there, which is this knob. So if I move it, you'll see how the panning goes wild. So that's an amazing sound design tool. Let's say we are trying to create like an alien gun that your character is shooting. All I'm doing is I'm actually bending the pitch bend down while the modulation is going up and down, and I'm actually able to control. So you could literally just record that. You could record 5 of them, and you could make $2,000. Just saying, if you're someone who does sound design. I don't know how much your games pay, but if you're doing sound design and they need 5 sound effects for all the alien guns, it could be the easiest 2K you've ever met in your life. I've done just enough sound design to be dangerous, but it's not my favorite thing in the world to do. But I also understand that if you can get a better grasp on the tools, that's like the scariest part of sound design in games. Game audio is how do I use the tools? You know, if you can just learn to play around. Like that could be a teleport, right? Something like that. We haven't even made any music yet, but you see how intuitive something like this becomes with just a little sound effects button. And I mean, we could do this all day. Like that could be a cool percussion in the background. So that sound effects button is really, really cool. And again, that was just using the noise generator up here. And let me turn it back off. And again, triangles are very, very quiet. And you can turn a ring mod on. You'll see that a lot of times in synth engines. So ring mod, it's not this whole complicated process. You literally just hit a button. So yeah, now I've completely mangled that patch. Let's turn it off. Let's go to a new patch. Look over here, number 2. I don't think I even explained these 3 buttons. So 3 buttons. Number 1 is solo. This is if you just want to create like a monophonic patch. And then we go to legato. It'll actually connect our notes together. and you can turn up the portamento knob. This is the easiest legato I've ever seen in a plugin. I wish every sample library would do this. But it's the portamento knob. You can turn it up right here. So you can actually create a glide. And of course, you can, mess with your attack here. Right, so that's how legato works. And then the last one, which is the default, is live ARP, which just means if I play two notes at once, the two waveforms are going to be oscillating back and forth. They're fighting for attention. So if I just play one, that's the main event. But if I play two, they're both trying to happen at the same time. But the SID chip does not let you play more than one note at once, like most 8-bit engines. So if I do three notes, it creates like a telephone. So there you go. There's another sound effect for you. I'll send the invoice in the mail. Or four notes. But you see how fast you can just design whatever. And now let's do like low notes plus high notes. There you go. There's like an ATV if we're creating like an 8-bit halo. That's cool. And yeah, but once you've made sounds, I didn't go through every button on here, but you can figure out how to use, depth and frequencies and stuff. But you can just make a sound and then combine sounds. So now I have 1 and 2 playing at the same time. Get really weird really fast, right? And then over here on the right side, this is our master channel that affects the entire instrument. So if at any point we want to turn on a filter, we can. So let's put on, I don't know, let's do an LFO filter for the entire thing and mess with the what is it called? The frequency? So let's turn this off so we can really hear it. So you can play all day with that. 2 more buttons we'll talk about, and then we'll actually make some music. Down here, we have the monophonic versus polyphonic. This is another very important button that it takes the entire patch. And if you have more than one channel open, as I do, I currently have 1, 2, and 3 open. If I have mono on, then it still only means that I can play one note at a time. Right? The 2 notes are competing for attention. If I hit poly, which stands for polyphony, then I can play like a normal chord. Sort of. But only if I play them at the same time. You can't like go back and forth. You actually have to play them attacks at the same time. Which there's something very inspiring about these limitations. So if you think back to Game Boy, is kind of, that's my earliest frame of reference for 8-bit. I played a lot of Pokemon growing up. Like this really makes me think of like the Pokemon. Let me get rid of that dumb percussion thing. It's so hard to play. I'm not used to playing like this because you have to play them at the exact same time. So you're hearing like like every other note that I play. But it just reminds you of the old sound. This is what we're trying to go for here. It's very authentic, where two notes are always competing for attention, so only one is going to sound. So if you go over the polyphony limit, then voices are going to cut out. And this happened all the time in old games. And that's why every time you like open up the battle sequence for Pokemon, how it's different every time, because the poor Game Boy, the audio chip is just struggling, because it's like always trying to fight and choose which notes it wants to play. So I just like that it emulates that really, really well, exactly how Deflamask would, a tracker would. So I think it's just one step closer to kind of marrying the MIDI world that we're so accustomed to with sample instruments with the actual way that they used to code with these instruments. Not instruments, but channels, right? So that was this right master over here. Another cool thing is you can actually transform the entire patch into 8580. And you can filter everything through just that chip. So there's a lot to play around with here. I haven't even touched it all, but you kind of get the gist of it, that you can just make your own sounds and have a blast with it. So I think for our purposes today, as we start off here, I'm going to choose some of the embedded sounds, because I'll be the first to admit that I'm not great at synthesis. I'm better than I used to be, but I think it kind of boils down to what sounds you have in your head, and you kind of manipulate things. So I would much rather start with a template of the legends who have already made these really cool sounds, and then I want to morph it into my own. So let's start with that. And kind of what I'm envisioning here today for the track, I want to do some kind of action track for a good old 2D platformer in 8-bit style. I just want to really go ham all the way on this. So let's have some fun, shall we? And what's up, Antelope? I'm glad you're joining us today. I want to start with a bass. So let's go to Jason Page and let's find one of his basses. Ha, that's awesome. I'm going to crank the volume a little bit for you guys. I feel like you're not getting the full experience as I am in my headphones. That'll be fun. That's such a fat, juicy bass. You know what's so cool about this? The way that the composers that created these have already set it up. You can already see it right here on the right side. It's being filtered through a low pass. So you see how there's this curve. And it's an oscillator, or an LFO, a low frequency oscillator. So the LFO here is actually moving constantly, and so is the panning is already programmed in. So even when I hold one note, I mean, you can look at it. Look at the waveforms. It's like losing its mind. You can even watch it dance over here. So I think it's so cool that they implemented the visual waveforms, because we can actually see, perhaps for the first time ever, without pulling up some extra analyzer plugins, we can actually see what's happening. I forgot to mention that if at any point you want to change the phase, this is pretty wild. You see these little waveforms here. I can actually move it. You see the little left and right button? You can actually move the phase of that individual oscillation. That's crazy. So if you find that you're stacking too many sounds that are like starting to phase and kind of have that crackly noise and you don't want it, you can actually shift over just one of the channels to where they're not in phase anymore. And that way it'll create a better, warmer sound versus a harsh sound. But maybe you want that, but at least that we get a choice. And hey, what's up, Jacob? Welcome to the party. I feel like a lot of Commodore soundtracks did that, like short notes and then fast notes, like really repetitive bass lines, and I'm okay with that. So I also have a piano here if I ever get distracted, if I ever need some guidance. But let's put a tempo in. I'm going to choose That's a technical term for fast. So that's 170 I have. Let's create a marker track. All right, we can actually follow along with what on earth is going on here. Marker track. We're going to make it red so it stands out. So I want measure 2 to be where we start. We always have a bar free to get our bearings. Maybe 160 is a little bit more tame. Here we go. Nah, I like the 170. Let's do the 170. It's nice and fast. And that's my 4-bar, technically 8-bar phrase. And these are all 16ths. So let's quantize that. Actually, no, they're not. They're 30-second notes. Good night. That's fast. All right, 30 seconds. Here we go. Oh, you think it sounds like Undertale? That's cool. Cool. It's really close. I have been listening to some Undertale recently, so that's always a possibility of influence. Let me get these quantized a little bit better. Oh, I love how it naturally does the arpeggiation right here. Did you hear that? It's a little raunchy in a good way. Let me scroll down. There we go. So it's a little hard to navigate all my screens with you guys watching. But there we go. It has that, it has like a little bit of a growl just naturally by the way that this is programmed. So I'm going to take this one note, this final note, if you can even see it, probably not. But I'm going to take the entire region. Let's get out the big boy scissors. Chop, chop, chop. Take everything and duplicate. I think it's going to sound really cool with that little pause there. Yum. Let's just go to town, shall we? So I'm just going to duplicate that inSIDious track. So I got a nice bass line. Let's get some perk up in here. I have no idea what it's going to look like, sound like, but let's just do it. So let's go into... Oh, cool. Look, it has the entire Jason Page loaded. It has all of his presets loaded as this one drop-down menu. That's pretty cool. So let's just see what else he has in here. There's no way I have time to go through every person's thing. Oh, yeah, that's a good clap. That adds a lot of energy. Here we go. That's all I need in my life right now. It's a digital clap. Take that, run with it. Pretty easy to do. Oops, I got rid of one of them on accident. All right, let's make another one. I'm thinking a kick would be appropriate. So let's see what else is hiding in here. Oh, wow. It's too bassy for me. Nah. these LFOs, they really are special. I want to see where I can get the, I'm going to call that a synth ARP, just because I don't know what to call it. I want to figure out where the master volume is on here, if there is one, because each of these is cranked out. There doesn't seem to be a master volume. I thought there might be. It's not a big deal. Maybe it's over here. Yep, found it. Oh, what an amazing LFO. There's even a cool delay. That's nice. So let's get that back to a normal volume now that I know where the thing is, the little slider. Would that make it for like an amazing title screen? A little quiet, but let me keep playing. Holy moly. To me, it sounds like a frog boss. Who like eats flies and throws them at you. Not gonna lie, half of this is gonna be just playing today, if that's okay. Now that gives me some Celeste vibes. That's a cool lead. I can change my mind. It's fine. So I'm feeling... I like that a lot. It's very legato. Let's see how we can distort it a little bit. With some ring mod. Cool. Let's roll with that. like it. Here we go. What is that time signature I just went into? A 1. So maybe we'll go into some 6/4 action right there. Why not? Where's my meter? I'm losing my mind. I forgot where things go. I think it's a. I think I create. What am I forgetting? Besides my brain today. Such an easy thing, and I've already forgotten how to do it. Let's see, we got my markers. Oy, oy, oy. Guys, true story. I haven't written music in like a week, and I forgot how to write music. What's happening? Oh my gosh. My schedule's been a little insane lately. Is this really happening right now? Isn't there a signature? There it is. There it is. Okay, cool. Lord have mercy. Okay, so it's kind of scary, really. What is that? 6/4. Boom, bum, bum, dun, 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 dun. And the last bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the last one I want to do 7/4. Is that gonna work? Cool. Maybe it's 4/4. 8/4. Let's just call it 8/4 to keep it consistent, and then we go back to our 4/4 idea that we were rocking before. So that, of course, needs some loving. Thinking 16th might be enough. Let's see how that feels. So juicy. I can get behind this. One more try. Let's just say, that's only 30 seconds? Wow. I thought that was longer than 30 seconds. Cool, cool, cool. I'm liking this so far. What you think? I never said it was going to be good. I just said it was going to be a piece. Let the fun continue. All right, let's pull out something fun here. Love that has like a gated synth. Now we're getting into Jake Kaufman territory of like Shantae or Shovel Knight. So cool. Maybe for a B section, this would be really cool to have. That is a super cool sound. Let's call this the B section. Yeah. No. That's going to be cool. I'll double it with an actual melody, but check this out. That's going to be really cool. It's like a galloping synth. So here's what it sounds like. All right, let's get some claps in. All right, so we got some claps. I'll turn the claps down ever so slightly. Here I want to have, I'll call this gated synth. I want to do one more synth, like one more lead for the B section that doubles that, but much clearer. Let's call it B lead for now. Let's find something else. Something a little bit less crazy. Yes, please. I'll take more of that. And then The real fun here is when we take that, chop it up, duplicate, and on the second pass, go up the octave. Yeah, I changed the pace there. All right, make this like a little C section. Do that twice, and that'll probably make a good loop. Not really shooting for a specific length here, other than to make it loopable. And perhaps right here, hey, thanks for that, Chris, appreciate it. Right here would be a good loop point. Oopsies. Wow, I've really just forgotten how to write music completely. This is crazy. Loop. Well, I've never lost how to write music. It's how to use the tools. Forget all the shortcuts if you don't use them for like a week. Kind of crazy. All right, let me take my loop. Whoop, go all the way back to here. And it should work to when you get to here. Oh, that's weird. I've never seen this orange bar. Does anyone know how to make that purple again? What is happening, people? That's bizarre. It's like it's looking like this is the beginning instead of the end. Where are my flags? Aha, there it is. That's weird. I've never done that in my life. First time for everything. I feel like we're going for a Jake Kaufman sound here today. That wasn't the intention, but I think that this lends itself very well to that retro, it's like modern retro. That was a fun modulation. That was really fun. Let's do more of that. Going to the E flat like that? Heck yeah. What did I do that first time? That was good. There it is. I can live with that. Oh, these are 16ths. There we go. Right, let me quantize that little section. Cool. Cool. Let's listen to that. I guess they're all 16th notes. Yep. So many things in my head. This is almost Castlevania style. Hello. What's up, guys? Welcome back. There was a freakish internet outage, which has never happened in my entire existence of YouTube living. So, before I lose my mind completely, give me a second to kind of reestablish my settings. But if you are still here with us, say hi, because you endured the storm. You are here with us. This is so bizarre. Really weird stuff. So I have no idea if this is going to create like a separate video or what. Oh well. Let me type in the chat real quick. Oh yeah, I think it's all one long video now. Yay. That was super weird, guys. But thanks for bearing with me here. That's never happened ever. Yay. I guess that's one of the cool things about YouTube is if you have an outage, but you still leave the stream on and then your internet kicks back in, it should theoretically continue the video with just like a time lapse. That's so bizarre. Anyway, we'll figure it out from here. Let's get back to the show, shall we? So all I was doing while I was gone, I was trying to figure out where to put these kick drums. I think we found a nice spot for it. I think we have a pretty solid bass going on here. Fundamentally, I think it works. However, I feel the need to now kind of, I don't know, Stevenify it or Melinify it, where I want to now add my spin, because I would never write a track with just C64 sounds. It's just not my thing. I like to mix sounds from different sources. So I feel like this needs some strings and it needs some piano. So what I want to do is I want to get some like intentionally bad strings to give it that kind of old school vibe. So really my favorite place to go for that is VSL. And I really like their, I forgot the official name of it. Let me grab the Synchron player here real quick. I guess Epic Orchestra. Any of their strings just have a really old school vibe, which I think is really cool. Something like this. Way too much reverb wherever it's hiding. There it is. I like that. It's just kind of a driver. Nothing super realistic, but it kind of fits the vibe. In fact, this might be a good place to start the track. Hello. Welcome back to the glitchiest stream of all time. This is super bizarre, but I'm glad you guys are here. Those of you who are braving it out with me. This is pretty. What's going on? I don't know. If you're still here with us, hello, if you're there, I cannot tell because the internet has completely failed. Hello, are you there? If you are, well, hi. Hey, look, I think we're back. for now. That's okay. You can give me a thumbs down for that. It's fine. It's fine. Seriously, the first time I ever had internet connection issues ever. Cool. So I've just been working on this bass section, trying to get all the notes quantized. Cool. Oh, what a mess, what a mess. There we go. I have no idea what's going on anymore. But to kind of update you folks, I was working on some strings here in this B section. Check it out. Victory! Yay, everything's back. That was so weird, guys. Like, YouTube kicked me out and didn't let me do anything. That's so weird. And yet, here we are. The stream still exists. So thanks for sticking around. Let's pump it out. Next 20 minutes. Let's wrap this thing up and make this thing a piece. I've still been working on it, so I haven't lost time, but sorry for wasting your time. Thank you, COVID internet. Rest in peace. Moving on. Love it. So now I want to add a piano. Because piano just makes everything better. That's just a fact. So I'm going to go here to my mixer. Every time I do this, I get cool results. So I'm going to throw B2 on there, which is a plugin from 2C Aether. Total shameless plug. If you want $20 off of this, and you want to go watch my review of B2, you can. Shoot me an email, steven@stevenmelin.com. And I can give you that. I'm an affiliate with 2C Aether. Anyway, or 2C Audio, amazing company. But they have this really cool plugin called B2, which is an experimental reverb. So you can throw any sound in here and it's going to come out completely different. So here's my piano. Let's do it. That's cool. Too much reverb though. Too much of a good thing. Let's tame it down a little bit. That's cool. Distorted piano. And then I'm also going to throw an EQ on there because I want to tame it down a little bit and really just have that big thud. Here we go. Hello, hello. I hope that this is finally back just in time to finish the dang stream. You guys have been awesome. Powering through. I don't know what the heck's going on with the internet, but it's cut off like 5 times. But hey, guess what? We get to finish the stream. I have more or less finished the track. I'll probably do a couple tweaks here at the very end, but let's listen to what we have so far. Again, this is the first look at inSIDious by Impact Soundworks. Let's take a listen. I think I've really shantaed it up quite a bit. You'll hear it in just a second. Here we go. So that is the loop. So sorry you guys had to miss like half of what I just did. I like it. I think it's pretty interesting. The only part that doesn't have a lot, like it's not standing out enough, is maybe right here in this B section. So I might just double that. I added a delay on top of that lead just to give some more life. I EQ'd a few things. Maybe this will stick. Something like that, just to give it some more life. Maybe that'll help. Let's see how that feels. think that actually works, guys. So I'd say about 75% of this is from inSIDious, and the rest is just some strings and piano distorted through a B2, which is that special effects reverb engine. So I'm pretty happy with this. Let me take a look at my mixer. It's not too crazy. Basically just have the B2 and EQ on the piano. We have a stereo delay and an EQ on that lead, which is the C64 lead. We have a gated synth. I wanted to clean that up a little bit with some EQ. Put another EQ on the kick drum to give it some more oomph there in the bass. And then the actual bass, I wanted to take off some of the low end and, just kind of carve it up a little bit. And I think it creates pretty solid sound. I'm really happy with that. So let's wrap this stream up. Thank you guys so much for being a part. Just wanted to remind you that if you want to take advantage of 25% off discount from inSIDious, it's already insidiously low. But right now, 20% off, 25% off at $49 at the time of this recording on July 21st, 2020. So thanks guys for being a part of this stream. I hope that you got to learn quite a bit about how inSIDious works. I think it's a fantastic product and you guys really enjoy that. So again, if you buy that link, use the link in the description below to grab that for 25% off. That'll actually support my business at no additional cost to you. So that serves you well. Let's enjoy. I'd love any track suggestions, any title suggestions for this track, but let's play out the final. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next Thursday for the next live composing show. Take care.